Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rechakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops like Great Millstone. I'm your brother, Rabbi Knapp, coming out with a lesson. Lord's will, this is edifying to the Lord's elect. And I found this on AlJazeera.com. It says oil soars past $100 a barrel amid Iran war. All right, so we've been seeing a significant increase on gas prices, and if you ain't been following it, you should be following it. This is, you're gonna be following it whether you want to or not. But it's good to understand why these things are happening, and also how it pertains to prophecy. That's the most important thing. Crude oil prices rise by as much as 20% as sprawling regional conflict threatens global energy supplies 2 minutes ago. So, threatens global energy supplies. So this affects everybody, all right? Smoke plumes rise after an overnight airstrike on the Saharan oil refinery in northwestern Tehran on March 8, 2026. So they're not bombing themselves, man. There's images of refineries, toxic smoke going all throughout the land, man. They getting bombed to smithereens, but yet, all this is gonna escalate. I was just watching something about not a Jew saying how he knows how he's gonna stop this war. So I'm thinking they're already thinking, maybe tactical nukes. That's what people are saying. But we know, no matter what these people say, we got to know what the Lord said. The Lord tells you what he's going to do. All right? And, things are just going to escalate. So we got to get our minds ready for this. To the best of our ability. There's nothing really much we can do except for pray and trust in the Lord. So it's very important we remain in these scriptures. Oil prices have surged past $100 a barrel amid the fallout of the U.S. and Israel's war on Iran. Brent crude in the global benchmark rose by as much as 20% on Sunday, topping $111 a barrel as trades grew of prolonged disruption to global energy supplies. Now, what does this mean? I don't know. I'm not an economist. What does it mean when oil is $111 a barrel? When oil is priced at $111 a barrel, it signifies a major surge in energy costs, typically driven by significant geopolitical conflict, such as the Iran-related supply fears in early March. This price level indicates that the market is pricing in a high war risk premium due to expected disruptions in oil shipments. So it's actually kind of good, if it's trying to, put the risk in, But it also shows you that they don't know what the risk is. They're not in the duck's head. They're not a Jew's head. He's still threatening to do more damage. And after today, they started bombing their water supply. So that shows you that the price is going to go higher than that. That's what I would think, unless they already incorporated the fact that those desalination plants were being bombed. Who knows? I'm not in these talks. Here is what 111 per barrel of oil means for the economy and consumers. Higher costs at the pump. Fuel prices usually rise within 1 or 2 weeks of a crude oil spike, significantly increasing costs for gasoline and diesel. So this happened today. Prices are already 50 cents up since before. So incorporating all these new strikes, I can see gas maybe going maybe $2 up more 2 weeks from now. That'll put me we around the $5 range. Other areas and places, that's a lot, man. That's a lot. But this also shows you how fast things can just change in an instant, man. inflationary pressure, high energy prices tend to increase the cost of producing goods and transportation, contributing to broader inflation and complicating the trajectory of interest rates. Economic impact: a sustained high oil price acts as a tax on economic growth and can lead to weaker consumer spending and reduced investment by businesses. And if that also goes into jobs. They're not going to want to pay you if everything else costs them more and people are not paying for the goods that are being produced. That puts jobs out of the way, which links up with Isaiah 19 and 15. There shall be no work for Egypt. Sector winners and losers, energy and defense stocks often rise, while transportation sectors such as airlines and shipping may suffer. Now, some of you might think, okay, well, since these attacks are going up, maybe I should go and invest in energy and defense stocks. But you don't own the stock. I did a video yesterday about BlackRock. People got a lot of money investing in BlackRock. They're hearing all this news and they wanted to take their money out. And he said you could only get 5%. But they were trying to get 9.3% of what they had in there. And he said no. That's the same thing that's going to happen to you when it comes to these defense stocks. Because eventually, even though their price is going up, it really ain't. When you see what's going on in all these other countries, you see what's going on with Ukraine and all that, you start to see that, his weaponry it ain't working. So why would you want to invest in something that ain't gonna help anybody anyways? My cat got a demon on him. Let me see. Sector winners and losers. Energy and defense stocks often rise. Read that. Market volatility. Prices over 100 are often viewed as a psychological threshold that triggers volatility in stock markets and increased demand for safe haven assets like the U.S. dollar. You think the U.S. dollar is a safe haven asset? I think not. This level represents a rapid increase, with reports showing oil prices surging over 20% to reach these levels following escalated conflicts in the Middle East. So this is what we're watching. Recommended stories: Palestinians killed during Israeli. Same shit. The surge marketed the first time oil rose above $100 per barrel. Give me a second. Soon as Satan be hopping on my pet, man. As soon as you start working, you be getting demons, even the damn animals. U.S. President Donald Duck, who campaigned heavily on cost of living concerns in the 2024 election, brushed off the surge. Of course he brushed it off. He told you that asking him about Russia having given Iran, intelligence. Oh, that's a stupid question. So don't expect any, wisdom coming from him. Short-term oil prices, which will drop rapidly when the destruction of the Iran nuclear threat is over, is a very small price to pay for the USA in world safety and peace, Duck said in a post on Truth Social. So, you're lucky you even got him to say that. I'm surprised he even said that after that. Only fools would think differently, he says. Well, says the fool. Says the fool. Let me start here in the book of Psalms 14. He got people coming to prey on him and shit, and they're straight reprobates. The elders went over that today. They had Paula, I thought her last name was Kane, Paula White. Kane, maybe she got married. Yeah, White Kane. This is who he takes. This is his spiritual advisor. Paula Michelle White Kane is an American pastor, author, spiritual advisor, and televangelist. She has written several books and is a leader in the charismatic movement. White is also known for her roles in Donald Duck's 2 presidential administrations. So she's a witch. That's who he's taking counsel from. So if you're taking counsel from a witch, you're a fool. Psalms 14:1, to the chief musician, the Psalm of David, the fool have said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good. Let's look this up. This verse highlights that denying God leads to moral decay and unethical behavior, describing the fool as someone morally deficient rather than just unintelligent. So, see, denying the Lord. You know, the elders were going in how if she was wise, she would be, if she understood the scriptures, she would understand that this is Babylon and it's not in your best interest to go fight against the Persians. If you wanted to make America great, you would try to succeed from prophecy, but you can't. There's nothing you could do. It's the Lord's will that has to be done. He's putting spirits on these leaders to do what they do. Proverbs 21:1. They don't have any say in what's going on. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water. He turneth it whithersoever he will. Let's see what that means. Maybe I'm lying. Stating that a king's heart is like a directed stream of water in the Lord's hand, guided according to his will. This verse highlights that even the most powerful leaders are subject to divine control, guiding their decisions toward God's purposes. So everything he does is according to God's purposes. He don't know why he's doing this. He's picking a fight with everyone in the world. This is within 1 year, man. Crude oil prices have surged by about 50% since the U.S. and Israel launched joint strikes on Iran on February 28th. Iran has brought shipping in the Strait of Hormuz to an effective halt in retaliation, threatening about 1/5 of the global oil supply. Iraq, the UAE, and Kuwait, 3 of the biggest producers in the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, have cut production as barrels accumulate with nowhere to go due to the effective closure of the waterway. So they're not saying it's. He said it's naturally closed, just because of the Iran saying we're not closing the strait. It's just naturally closed from all of the destruction. Attacks on energy production facilities in the region have further threatened supplies. Iran has been blamed for missile and drone strikes on energy facilities across the Gulf, including in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait. So. Say goodbye to your gas, man. And don't worry, if you drive an electric, you might think, oh, thank God I bought a Tesla. You're going to be screwed too, because these data centers are going up. All right? Because there's going to be a strong push for those data centers in the near future. That's going to be top news. Just like all this oil, then next thing you know, the oil, they're going to fluctuate. They're going to be high. You're going to get used to that. And then he's going to hit you off with the data centers. Let's just jump down. Saturday, Israel carried out airstrikes on oil facilities in Iran, targeting the country's energy infrastructure for the first time since the start of the war. So 8 days in, he's targeting infrastructure. You know, the elder was going into Job 18:11. That sounds like that's the spirit. Job 18:11. Terror shall make him afraid on every side and shall drive him to his feet. So, you know, this is prophecy being fulfilled. Let's look this up. As a matter of fact, let me get this, and I'm curious to see what the Bible Hub says about this. But let me, did I grab it? Let me see what this says. Stating terror shall make him afraid on every side. It highlights a life haunted by constant fear and impending destruction. And that's where we're at right now. Because they're going to retaliate. Now, they don't have the power to retaliate on the level that America can do it and just bomb your whole country in 8 days and all your oil refineries. But they got other attacks. I mean, yesterday, someone just threw an IED in front of Ma'am Donnie's house. Threw it at a right-wing Jake Lang. All right? And he was 18 years old. So if he got stupid motherfuckers like that at 18, there's a lot of stupid ass 18-year-olds. Even some of these Edomites are far. I don't even know what to call them. They they be wearing the Free Palestine shit. That's gonna be a problem. Let's look this up. Job 18. Job 18 and 11. I want to see what the Bible Hub. Because now you expecting retaliation. You just killed their Ayatollah, which is pretty much like their Pope. I thought he was the president. That's not even the president. Iran has a president. He's not trying to switch out the president. You don't even hear about the president. You just hear about all this talk about the Ayatollah. And then he got a nerve to say, imagine you kill somebody's pope and say, the next pope you get, got to go through me. You got to ask me what pope your people want to rule over them. That's a proud statement to say. Let's read this in the NLT. Terrors are surrounding the wicked, a trouble them at every step. So let's see what they're going to do. Okay. It says terrors frighten him on every side. This phrase reflects the overwhelming sense of fear and anxiety that can surround an individual. In the context of the book of Job, Bildad is speaking about the fate of the wicked, suggesting that they are constantly beset by fears. This imagery of being surrounded by terrors is reminiscent of the curses described in Deuteronomy 28, 66 through 67. Let's go over there real quick. Those are the curses. See what curses they're talking about. Deuteronomy 28 in verse 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. Oh, that's beautiful. That's the curses that you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans be going through. You be getting put to death just randomly. You always gotta. You're at a higher statistically speaking, you're more likely to be killed by a police officer every time you leave your house. That's a fear that we just always have. That's why when you get pulled over, you feel that way when you watch the news, and then they get away with it on top of it. So according to Deuteronomy 30 and 7, all these curses shall be upon our enemies. Your life's gonna hang in doubt. There was a maybe I'll say about a month ago now, they had that dude in Las Vegas. They found a house. He had a whole laboratory next to a reservoir. All right, and he was messing with all types of different diseases, and they think that he was plotting to maybe put that shit in the water. So the Lord said there's going to be pestilences and all these types of things. Deuteronomy 28, verse 67. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even. And at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning. For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. Ooh, let's look this up. It depicts a life filled with such fear that people would constantly long for the day to end in the morning and in the night to end in the evening due to terrifying sights. That's Deuteronomy. Those are the curses. Let me grab this in Deuteronomy 30 and 7. So this is what our enemies are going to experience. Deuteronomy 30 and 7. And the Lord thy God will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. Okay, and who persecuted you, Israelites? Esau. So a lot of these terrorists, even though it's scary, Jake's gonna be scared during this time when you hear all these things that's going about. But the believers understand these things are coming. So the sinners in Zion are gonna be afraid. Let me grab that. But imagine Esau. The sinners in Zion, you people don't have shit. Esau got so much to lose in this. This is his kingdom. You're just a You're just a slave. You gonna be nervous. Who gives a fuck about you? You ain't shit. You're like a table. You're like a you ain't shit. You're a piece of paper. You're nothing. You're 1/3 of a person. In his eyes, you're just a monkey. Isaiah 33:14. The sinners in Zion are afraid. Fearfulness have surprised the hypocrites. You're a hypocrite because you act like you love the Lord and you don't. You don't obey him. You follow the gods of the heathen. You don't listen to his prophets. You're a hypocrite. Who among us shall dwell with the devouring fire? Who among us shall dwell with the everlasting burnings? Let's look this up. It highlights the terror of the ungodly in Jerusalem when facing God's righteous, consuming judgment. So let's see. Some of these judgments that are meant for Esau, you're going to feel them too. They're coming for you. That was a good precept for Job 18:11. Where a disobedient Israel would live in constant dread, the idea of being encircled by fear also connects to Psalms 88:17. Let's grab it. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. Psalms 88:17. They came round about me daily like water. They compassed me about together. Let's see what this means. Portrays a moment of intense, relentless suffering where the psalmist feels completely overwhelmed by despair, described as being surrounded by trouble daily, like water. It highlights a state of total emotional or physical inundation where misery persists without relief. Woo! I gotta get this in the NLT. A petition to be saved from death. Psalms 88:17 in the NLT. They swirl around me like floodwaters all day long. They have engulfed me completely. I guess that's what it means. The suffering of affliction. Probably got to read the whole psalm to get the full context of it, but that's the point. I just want to read what they were saying. Where the psalmist describes being overwhelmed by troubles, this phrase can be seen as a metaphor for the spiritual and emotional turmoil that can afflict those who are separated from God's protection, which is 2/3 of the nation of Israel. All right. I'm thinking of a precept. As a matter of fact, let me see what they provide for cross references. Psalms 22:16. For dogs have compassed me, the assembly of the wicked have enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. Now let's talk about Yahweh Shai. Ooh, Psalm 69:1. To the chief musician upon Shoshanim, a psalm of David. Save me, O God, for the waters are come in unto my soul. I sink in deep mire where there is no standing. I am come into deep waters where the floods overflow me. That's a good precept, man. Just like Jonah. There's plenty of scriptures that describe different types of tribulation and afflictions. I was just thinking of a precept. The phrase can be seen as a metaphor where the psalmist describes being overwhelmed by troubles. Disobedient Israel would live in constant dread. Where it talks about, I think I'm thinking about Jeremiah the 30th chapter, honestly. Going into Jacob's trouble. Jeremiah 30:6. Ask ye now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Let's look this up. It highlights a time of immense, unprecedented distress, specifically the time of Jacob's trouble, implying the severity of the Babylonian siege or future end-time tribulation. Can't make this up, man. So the word terror. I'm thinking about Ezekiel. Ezekiel. I'm not. What's this? Ezekiel 26 and 17. And they shall take up a lamentation for thee and say to thee, how art thou destroyed, that was inhabited of seafaring men, the renowned city, which was strong in the sea, she and her inhabitants, which caused their terror to be on all that haunted. No. Let me see, Ezekiel 28:19. And they that know thee among the people shall be astonished at thee. Thou shalt be a terror, and never shall thou be any more. I forgot what precept I'm looking for, but I think it's let's see, Ezekiel 32 and 30. There be the princes of the north, all of them, all and all the Zidonians which are gone down with the slain, with their terror. They are ashamed of their might, and they lie uncircumcised with them that be slain by the sword, and bear their shame with them that go down to the pit. I don't think that's it. Ezekiel 32, verse 32. For I have caused my terror in the land of the living, and he shall be laid in the midst of the uncircumcised with them that are slain with the sword, even Pharaoh and all his multitude, saith the Lord of Yahweh. Let me see. I think that's it. Ezekiel 32, verse 32, meaning it reinforces God's supreme sovereignty over nations, showing that arrogant powers will fall to judgment, and highlights the certainty of God's word. Okay. Anyways, and harass his every step. The notion of harassment at every step suggests a relentless pursuit by these terrors, leaving no room for peace or respite. What's respite? A short-term break or period of rest from caregiving duties. This can be compared to the imagery of Psalms 140 and 4. Let's grab that. To keep me, O Lord, from the hands of the wicked, preserve me from the violent man who have purpose to overthrow my goings. Where the psalmist asks for protection from those who would trip up his steps. In a broader biblical context, this relentless pursuit can be seen as a consequence of sin, as described in Proverbs 13 and 21. Now, I just saw yesterday there was a huge tornado that killed, I think, 7 or 8 people. So while these different things are going on, the Lord can just throw in some natural disasters. So we getting into those times, man. Proverbs 13, verse 21. Evil pursueth sinners, but to the righteous good shall be repaid. Evil pursueth sinners, but to the righteous good shall be repaid. Where calamity pursues sinners, theologically, this can be interpreted as the natural outcome of living outside God's will, where one's path is fraught with difficulties and dangers. This relentless harassment can also be seen as a type of the spiritual warfare that believers face, as described in Ephesians 6 and 12, where the struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual forces of evil. And ultimately, that's what it is. It's all a test of your faith. But them doing all these things, it tells you in Galatians 6 and 9 that you reap what you sow. You sowing oil refineries being destroyed, energy infrastructure. So you opening up the door for them to hit you in those same areas and see how you like it. They got those desalination plants in order to get their water. That's a huge escalation over there. That's more of an escalation than the oil refinery, because they don't. There's no real way to protect your clean water. It's just, you would just hope morally You would deal with moral people that would just, try to achieve their goals without going so low. But the fact that these are happening politically, this is a nightmare because someone described it. I think I was watching. I forgot what I was watching. He said they lose the moral high ground. Now, the reason why the moral high ground is so important because when you want to continue fighting, people are gonna not want to fight for you. So that's the problem. That's this is a huge issue because you're showing the whole world that you ain't fit to rule. A lot of the people. That's why there's more uproars of the people, like it tells you in Second Ezra, the ninth chapter. That's going to escalate, and then eventually, speaking about them, the men of the Lord, it's starting with us. When he start coming at us, oh, you people are fucked. You people are fucked, man. But this is good because you shouldn't have been wasting any time during this. What am I looking at? What am I thinking about? I must be thinking about 1 Peter 4:17. For the time has come that judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of God? Let's look this up. It highlights that trials are a normal part of Christian life and indicates a future more severe judgment for the ungodly. That's that Christian bullshit, man. Israel, you need to keep the law, statutes. Ultimately, it's talking about the believers. The house of God are the believers of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, not the Christians. The Christians are pagans, all right? They don't believe in the Lord. They don't keep the commandments. They believe in a God that loves the world. They believe in Serapis Christus. Serapis Christus. This is their God. A term often used, Cuphead. This is their God, man. This is who y'all worshiping. The Hellenist faith. That's exactly what it is. The Serapia is a holy day dedicated to Lord Serapis, god of the afterlife, abundance, destiny, miracles, fertility, and healing, who had gained a large following during the Roman period when his worship spread beyond Egypt. The Serapia was celebrated sometimes for numerous days in the form of festivals complete with processions and feasting. Music from musical instruments such as kitharas and flutes would be filling the ears of those who attended. Philanthropy is also practiced, with bonuses usually given to those who worked under the wealthier individuals who did celebrate the Serapia. This day is to be celebrated as a feast to Serapis, and offerings should also be given to him, most particularly perfumes and incense. This is who you worship, man. That's your God. Serapis Christus. However, historically, evidence indicates there is no connection between the two. Serapis was a syncretic, politically engineered god of the Ptolemaic period, combining Osiris and Apis, while Jesus was a historical figure. Yeah, sure. Worshipping the god of Ptolemy, a Greek and Egyptian god. He got a hat here. He don't got a hat here. He looked just like Jesus. Who was the god that Ptolemy made up to? I didn't say it. Who was the god that Ptolemy? Who was the god that Ptolemy Isoter created the deity Serapis? So this god over here, that's what Esau does. He created his so-called Jesus Christ in the 3rd century BC to unite his Greek and Egyptian subjects. So that's to unite you to him. Serapis was a synthetic Greco-Egyptian god combining the Egyptian gods Osiris and Apis, Greek gods. Osiris is a major ancient Egyptian deity revered as the lord of the underworld, judge of the dead, the god of fertility, agriculture, and resurrection. And elders went into this today, but it's good to go over these, because you always forget. Sometimes you got to go over the milk. Apis. Don't tell me. With Greek deities like Zeus, Hades, and Dionysus, his cult was centered in Alexandria, where he was worshipped as a major deity, just like here. He worshipped the so-called white man. A stupid-ass demon. So you obey not the gospel of God, so we'll see what's going to happen to you. So anyways, oil soars past $100. Iran names Khamenei's son as new supreme leader after father's killing. I knew he was going to be the new supreme leader. I knew it. Because that strike killed every other person that it could be. That's the Lord, man. The Lord wants us. This is a special. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like Cyrus the Great back in, or maybe not Cyrus, but somebody through the Spirit. Let me grab this in the book of Isaiah 45:1. God uses Cyrus. Isaiah 45:1. Actually, I think it should start at 44. Isaiah 44. That saith to the Isaiah 44:27. That saith to the deep, be dry, and I will dry up thy rivers. Let's look this up. This is talking about the Euphrates River being dried up. It's a prophetic statement declaring God's sovereign power to remove obstacles for Israel's restoration, specifically referencing the drying up of the deep and the rivers. This imagery signifies the miraculous removal of barriers, often interpreted as the drying of the Euphrates to allow Cyrus to conquer Babylon and free the Israelites. Woo! This might be the time, man. I'm hoping. Persian vessel that the Lord used to free the Israel. Isaiah 44:28. That saith to Cyrus, he is my shepherd and shall perform all my pleasure, even saying to Jerusalem, thou shalt be built into the temple, thy foundation shall be laid. Let's look at this word, Cyrus.
Strong's H3566.
Koresh, the king of Persia and conqueror of Babylon, first ruler of Persia to make a decree allowing Israelite exiles to return to Jerusalem. Possess thou the furnace. Second Chronicles 36:22. Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord Yahweh spoken by the mouth of Jeremiah might be accomplished, the Lord Yahweh stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and put it also in writing, saying, thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, all the kingdoms of the earth have the Lord Yahweh, God of heaven, given me, and he have charged me to build him a house in Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Who is there among you of all his people? The Lord his God be with him, and let him go up. Yeah, go back to Judah. I'm just thinking about Cyrus, man. The Lord raises up some heathen nations in order to benefit Israel. That's what he did before. And it's crazy how his father died, but multiple family members got put to death, and multiple, I think there was other leaders that could have took the place of Khamenei. They all died in the strike too. So it was like ordained for him to fill in the spot. Because I was reading before, I was like, why don't they just put his son in there? And they said he's not a real candidate right now, but they didn't know how much damage they actually did. But once they found out, they pretty much killed all the leaders. It's like that's pretty crazy, man. Isaiah 45:1, thus saith the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden, to subdue nations before him, and I will loose the loins of kings, to open before him the two-leaved gates, and the gates shall not be shut. Let's see what this is talking about. It's a prophecy predicting that God would use the Persian King Cyrus to conquer nations and free the Israelites from captivity. Isaiah 45:2, I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. I will break in pieces the gates of brass, which is talking about the Greeks. Hold on, is it? Brass represents the Greeks, right? Well, the Persians lost to the Greeks. So does brass represent the Greeks? Yes, brass, often referred to as bronze in ancient contexts, is used to represent the Greek civilization in specific historical and theological contexts. But I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but the Persians got taken down by the Greeks and cut in sunder the bars of iron. Ooh, the bars of iron is talking about Rome, man. That's the spirit. Isaiah 45:2. Is the spirit. Isaiah 45:2 declares God's promise to go before Cyrus to remove obstacles, make the crooked places straight, and destroy barriers, break in pieces the gates of brass. It signifies divine empowerment to overcome, ensuring success in difficult tasks, and demonstrating God's sovereign control over world events and historically the liberation of Israel. That's right. It's all for everything that's going on is for Israel. But I don't like how they answered that. Why is it saying brass and iron? That's talking about the Greeks and the Romans, man. I gotta look more into this. There's some meat in here somewhere. Isaiah 45:2. See, let me read it in the NLT. This is what the Lord says. I will go before you, Cyrus, and level the mountains. I will smash down gates of bronze and cut through bars of iron. Oh, man. I'll break down the gates of bronze. Bronze gates were considered strong and impenetrable, often used in ancient cities for protection against invaders. The breaking down of these gates signifies God's power to overcome human defenses and fortifications. Historically, this can be linked to the fall of Babylon, which was known for its formidable walls and gates. I forgot that they took down Babylon. All right, they did take down Babylon. God's promise to break these gates underscores his sovereignty over nations and his ability to fulfill his promises regardless of human resistance. This act can also be seen as a type of Hamashiach's victory, or Christ's victory over sin and death, breaking the barriers that separate humanity from God and cut through the bars of iron. Iron bars represent strength and security, often used to reinforce gates and doors. God's promise to cut through these bars further illustrates his unmatched power and determination to accomplish his will. This imagery reinforces the idea that no human-made structure or defense can withstand God's purposes. In a spiritual sense, it can be seen as a foreshadowing of Christ's work in breaking the chains of sin and setting captives free, as mentioned in Luke 4:18. The cutting through of iron bars symbolizes liberation and the breaking of bondage, both physically for the Israelites and spiritually for believers. So I like it. God uses Cyrus, man. Maybe he'll use him to break the gates of brass and cut in sunder the bars of iron, which are you Edomites. All right. Isaiah 45:3, and I will give thee the treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places, that thou mayest know that I, the Lord Yahweh, which call thee by thy name, am the God of Israel. Okay, so the treasures of darkness, let's look this up. This verse is a part of a prophecy where God speaks to King Cyrus, promising him, a pagan leader, immense hidden wealth to fulfill his divine purposes. For Jacob, my servant's sake, and Israel, mine elect, I have even called thee by thy name. I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me. You know, Cyrus didn't know Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. But, you know, before, when he was raised up, you know, Israel was like, hold on, this is him. This is the dude who's gonna get us back, get us out of exile, and allow us to build the temple again. He even called them his elect. So the Lord got chosen vessels even within the heathen to fulfill certain, to perform his will. Duck might be the elect on the left-hand side. He said he's anointed by Jesus. So maybe he is anointed by Jesus. Who knows? Ultimately, the Lord is the one who sets up who's a king and who's not. Let me grab this in the book of Psalms 75. And I forgot. Psalm 75. And 6, for promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south. But God is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. So he's the one who puts down one and sets up another. He wanted him to be a ruler, so we're going to see what he wants him to do. So there's a new player being implemented into the field today. He changed the times. Now there's a new ruler coming in. All today. A lot of things are going on in the world. Don't sleep. It's not time to sleep, man. Matter of fact, let's grab this in the book of Romans chapter 13. You're supposed to know what's going on, especially if you're an Israelite man. Romans 13 and 11, and that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than we believe. So why would you be sleeping if your salvation is nearer than we believe? You thought it was a long way away, and the Lord's putting in work. He's raising up rulers just like before. If you were asleep during the time of, that in Babylon, the Persians, that time we were within Persians. So he was raising up Cyrus. But the Persians, we were already in captivity. All right, but then he was going to allow us to set up the kingdom. Or the temple, I should say, not the kingdom. The kingdom's going to be set up when Yahushua returns. Am I done with Isaiah 45? Let me go back there real quick. I think that was it. That's pretty much it. I thought that's just through the spirit. Mojtaba Many will now be charged with leading the Islamic Republic through the biggest crisis in its 47-year history. 47-year history. The son of slain Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali attends a demonstration to mark Jerusalem Day in Tehran. Can't make this up. What the hell is Jerusalem Day? This is the spirit, man. I'm telling you. International Quds Day, Jerusalem Day in Tehran, is an annual state-sponsored event held on the last Friday of Ramadan, featuring massive rallies to express solidarity with Palestine and oppose Israel. Established in 1979 by Ayatollah Khamenei, it showcases anti-Zionist slogans, burning Israeli flags, and speeches by top officials serving as a key pillar of Iranian foreign policy. That's a pretty, you come in on a day like that, on on one of their high holy days. Iran has named Mojtaba Khamenei as its new supreme leader just over a week after the assassination of his father, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in joint United States-Israeli strikes that have plunged the entire region into a sprawling war. The 56-year-old, who will now be charged with leading the Islamic Republic through the biggest crisis in its 47-year history, was named by clerics as his father's successor on Sunday. So, new face. Duck vows control over Iran leader as death toll of U.S. soldier rises. Duck says new supreme leader will not last long without U.S. approval hours before Mojtaba Khamenei was selected. They're already trying to kill him. They're already thinking about killing him, man. Hey, but we know Psalm 68 and 20. It's all the Lord, man. Some interesting times. He might cause hell to Esau. I think he gonna put a lot of hell on Esau, man. You killed his father? Oh, man. He about to... That's not the person you want to see over there, in my opinion. All right. That's the last face you want to see. Okay, I didn't read the precept. Psalm 68, verse 20 in the KJV. He that is our God is the God of salvation, and unto God the Lord belong the issues from death. So you can plot and plan. That doesn't matter. The Lord God is our rescuer from death. This phrase highlights God's power over life and death, a central tenet of, this is Christian, Israelite faith. They're always trying to throw themselves before Israel. It don't work over here, man. In a historical context, death was often seen as the ultimate enemy, and God's ability to rescue from death underscores his sovereignty and omnipotence. This is echoed in the New Testament, where Yahushua's resurrection is the ultimate demonstration of God's power over death. The phrase also connects to the hope of eternal life promised to believers, as seen in the passages like John 11:25-26, where Yahushua declares himself the resurrection and the life. This assurance of rescue from death provides comfort and hope to believers, affirming God's control over the finality of death and his promise of eternal life through his son, Yahushua. All right. Let's see what Duck is saying. U.S. President Donald Duck has again asserted that he would exert influence over Iran's next supreme leader, saying that whosoever is picked for the role without Washington's approval is not going to last long. That's the Duck, man. I give it to him, man. He ain't fucking around. He didn't approve of him. That's probably the last person he wanted to see over there. Who knows who he wanted over there? The statement on Sunday came hours before Iranian state media reported that the Assembly of Experts had selected a new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. I don't think I'm saying his name right. Let me see. Let me try to get his name right, man. Pronunciation. I want to see how they pronounce it. Mojtaba Khamenei. Whatever. I'm not clicking on any videos because these niggas be giving me strikes for some reason. The son of Ayatollah, who was killed in hours after the U.S. and Israeli launched war on Iran on February 28th. Duck did not immediately respond to the younger Khamenei selection, but broadly said earlier that any individual would need U.S. approval. So he don't got U.S. approval. Iranian officials have denied that the Duck administration has had any influence on the decision. He's going to have to get approval from us, Duck told ABC News, referring to a possible new Supreme Leader. If he doesn't get approval from us, he's not going to last long. That's pride right there. You know, your pride to tell you you got power over life or death. He clearly don't. Tells you. And I think it's Psalms. Is it 73? No. Psalms 10. That I'm thinking about. Psalms 10:4. The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts. So he ain't thinking about the Lord. He just think he got all this power because that's his pride speaking. All right. The Lord is in power. He's the one who chooses who lives, who dies, how long somebody has. Just like it tells you in Psalms 75. He putteth down one and set up another. Let me grab this in the book of Job 14:5. I clicked the wrong button. Job 14:5. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou has appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. So the Lord knows how much time someone has to rule and all of that. He's not just going to put him in and he gets shot tomorrow. Unless that's his will. But I doubt it. The Lord's going to be doing something with this, man. Because even the CIA members that got his father killed, they got killed in that strike too. So he kind of killed all the leaders. He killed a lot of CIA and all that. They all got put to death in that. You know, so he probably, that shows you he has less intelligence in specific areas like that. So he's losing control over there, man. He had somebody in there. There was another dude I was reading. They said he was a part of the Mossad, and they executed him. And he was in that Ayatollah. He was right next to him for years. One of his top guys working for Israel. Duck did. I read that Duck added that he did not want future administrations to have to go back in the years ahead in apparent reference to future military action. I don't want people to have to go back in 5 years and have to do the same thing again or worse. Let them have a nuclear weapon, he said. What am I reading? Who have a nuclear weapon? Officials in Iran, which has launched retaliatory attacks across the Middle East, have repeatedly rejected the notion of Washington asserting influence over the selection. Right. Earlier on Sunday, Iranian Minister of Foreign Affairs Abbas Araghchi again said that we will allow nobody to interfere in our domestic affairs. That's Esau trying to meddle in your elections. Like he don't want, he be saying that should be happening to his own people. He was just talking about how how Biden stole the elections. He still be saying that shit. This is up to the Iranian people to elect their new leader, he said, adding that Iranians had elected the Assembly of Experts, the body that selects the supreme leader. Well, Duck wanted to be part of that process. You should have gave him a turban and shit so he could go over there and participate. He wanted to participate. This dude is funny as hell, man. He wanted to choose your leader. Speaking to Al Jazeera, Barbara Slavin, a fellow at the Stimson Center in Washington, D.C., pointed to Duck's previous statements to U.S. media in which he said he would not accept Mojtaba Khamenei as the next supreme leader. It's a real finger in the eye to Donald Duck, said Slavin, adding that the replacement of the elder Khamenei with his son would not be well received by a U.S. public that polls show is already wary of the war. Wary without an E? Let me see what this means. Means acting with keen caution suspicion, or alertness to detect and avoid danger or deception. It implies being on guard, guarded, or distrustful, often used as wary of someone or something. Common synonyms include vigilant, cautious, circumspect, and leery. So, yeah, this don't look good for the duck. Seventh U.S. soldier dies. Mojtaba Khamenei selection was announced shortly after the Pentagon confirmed that a seventh U.S. soldier had died since the war began. And you know what's more than seven? It got to be more than seven. He telling you it's seven. There's probably like hundreds of people, maybe even thousands. I would think he gonna tell you seven though, because just the looks on their, they don't look right, man. Lying make you, oh man, it don't make you look right. You just, it makes you look old, way older than you actually are, man. It's evil. Okay, all that lying and having to keep up with your lies, you don't look good, man. I would play this. They asked him on, you know, something about the school that got blown up. He blamed it on Iran, and then Pete Hegseth came in and said, "Well, we're still looking into it," and blah blah blah. But the duck, so they're not. Their stories are not even collaborating with each other. And he got his defense of war right next to him, and he ain't even agreeing with him. So just a bunch of confusion. Why would he say Iran did it, and then the defense of war saying, "Well, we're still looking into it." So who do you believe? Which one? You gotta choose. One says one thing, another says another. Do you listen to the president or the defense of war? Who do you listen to? Confusion. All right. In a statement, U.S. CENTCOM said the unidentified soldier had been wounded at the scene of an attack on U.S. troops in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on March 1st and died on Saturday. Further details were not immediately available. Meanwhile, the death toll in Iran had risen to 1,332, with at least 11 people killed across the Gulf and another 11 killed in Israel. The U.S. president has offered shifting justifications for the war, repeatedly pointing to Iran's nuclear ambitions, its ballistic missile program, as well as the totality of Iran's actions in the region since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. It said, as well as the totality of Iran's actions in the region since the 1979 Islam. He going way back looking for excuses of why he's over there fighting them. Critics, including the majority of Democratic U.S. lawmakers, have said Duck has provided scant evidence to prove that Iran posed an immediate threat. So I'm saying, so your lies ain't even matching up. I'm not going to read all of this. I'll read a little bit more. On Sunday, Omani Minister of Foreign Affairs Badr, who had been overseeing indirect U.S.-Iran talks on Tehran's nuclear program, again rejected U.S. officials' claims that Tehran had not entered into the negotiations in good faith. More lies, man. You want to take it over because you want to give it to Israel. We seeing that you just Israel's bitch. Because the scriptures tell you that if you love me, keep my commandments. He loves Israel, so he's, or I should say she, because Babylon is likened unto a woman. She is obeying Israel, so that's whose commandments she's keeping. Probably because she's being awed with, I'm gonna get you this and I'm gonna buy you that, and Israel's just in her ear saying the right things. So just like any slut, whore, woman, bitch, she gonna fall for the okie doke. Alright, but she don't know that this dude ain't right. And she gonna get put to death. Like most harlots do, those prostitutes that are in the street, they get put to death. Am I done with this? Bahrain says water desalination plant damaged in Iranian drone attack. The Iranian aggression randomly bombed civilian targets, Bahrain says, adding 3 people were injured in the latest raids. Bahrain says the latest Iranian attacks on the country have damaged a water Where the hell is Bahrain? Bahrain maps. Oh, it's an island off the coast of Qatar, so southern Saudi Arabia. No, that's western. Of course, I ain't gonna run. Where is that? Alright, let's keep. Come on, what the hell? Load up. Alright, Bahrain. Trying to get a. It's still loading? Like, what the hell is going on? I see Qatar. Come on. Wait for that to load. Alright, Bahrain, Qatar. So it's on the right of Saudi Arabia. In a statement on X, Bahraini Ministry of Interior said an Iranian drone attack on Sunday morning damaged the desalination plant, which processes seawater to supply fresh water to residents. I wouldn't be surprised if all these strikes are not from Iran, man, because they claiming he hit the EU. He sent missiles to Turkey and Cyprus. You know, everything that would pretty much create, you know, have the EU get into the war and fight Iran. Yeah, so it's right across. Okay, so it's right in the Persian Gulf. Okay. Right across the Persian Gulf. A nice little beautiful island. Esau got shit over there. There's no reason why you need to put troops over there, man. Big Ron. Alright, so they got shot. Okay. What else? How targeting of desalination plants could disrupt water supply in the Gulf. The military targeting of desalination plants poses a huge risk to water security in the Gulf, one of the most water scarce regions in the world. So why wouldn't he do the same thing to us over here in Babylon? 2 killed in Saudi Arabia after projectile falls on residential buildings. Let's see, at least 2 people have been killed after a projectile fell on a residential location in Saudi Arabia's Al-Kharj city. Saudi authorities reported as Iranian counterattacks on Gulf nations hosting U.S. military assets entered the second week. The Saudi Civil Defense said in a post on X on Sunday, without mentioning Iran, that an unspecified military projectile had hit residential area, killing 2 foreign nationals, 1 Indian and 1 Bangladeshi, and injuring 12 people. So I thought that was American. It's not. Thousands of stranded passengers across key U.S. hubs as 455 flights are axed and 1,119 pushed back. Major delays at airports in Texas, New York, and California, with Delta and United facing huge flight interruptions. What to do if you're affected by these major disruptions. So I wonder what's going on. What's up with these thousands of passengers are stranded across key hubs today? I just read all that. With so many flights canceled and delayed, it's crucial to stay updated on your flight. It's not telling me. Why were major flights being delayed in America today? Major flight delays in U.S. on March 8th are primarily driven by severe operational strains caused by Homeland Security shutdown, resulting in long TSA security lines, 2 to 3 at major airports. These issues are compounded by lingering effects of winter weather in some regions and industry-wide staffing shortages. Damn. So people traveling, people going different places.